If we have a daughter, I'd love to make her matching dresses with cute fabrics, I thought. If it's a boy, I'd teach him baseball, my husband Aaron added. Yeah, it would be great to have both a son and a daughter, I agreed. Absolutely, he replied. Aaron and I met at our workplace and got married. We had always talked about having kids soon after marriage. Imagining our future with children and discussing what we would do was always a joy. However, after getting married, contrary to our hopes, we struggled to conceive. 5 years into our marriage, we underwent fertility tests at the hospital and discovered the issue was with Aaron. He started attending fertility treatments at the hospital. He was prescribed medication, but despite taking it, there was no significant improvement. Aaron quit smoking and drinking, started exercising regularly at the gym, and became mindful of his diet, shopping for organic vegetables and cooking more. I did everything I could too. I quit my demanding job with night shifts, switched to office work, and tried various supplements. We also visited many shrines for blessings of childbearing. We tried hard together to conceive, but despite our efforts, we did not get pregnant in 8 years of marriage. Every time I heard colleagues talk about their kids or saw friends with their children, I wondered why we couldn't have our own. Why couldn't I become a mom? These unanswerable thoughts occupied my mind. I became increasingly depressed, often retreating into solitude at home. Lately, I've been suffering from frequent headaches, possibly side effects of the medication. I'm tired of the relentless efforts to conceive. Maybe it's time to give up. A life without children wouldn't be so bad. With this half-resigned mindset, I started skipping hospital visits. Seeing my state, Aaron suggested we go on a trip. We hadn't traveled much recently. Let's refresh with some fresh air and delicious food in nature, Aaron suggested. Okay. Yeah. I responded, not too excited, but appreciative of his effort. We decided to go on a trip. Wow, the fall foliage in the mountains is beautiful. It's really autumn, I said. The serene view from the car window soothed my heart. That evening at the inn, we enjoyed delicious food and relaxed in the hot springs, which seemed to ease my hardened heart. The next day, we were having coffee in the inn's lobby cafe. It's quite noisy, isn't it? I noted. Looks like a lot of guests are staying, Aaron observed. The inn's reception was busy with a line of people checking out. With it being summer vacation, the inn was full of families. Dad, Mom, what about souvenirs? A child asked. Let's buy them at the shop next door. Any places you want to visit today? The parents replied. I want to go to the farm and see cows, a boy said. And I want to drink fresh milk, a girl added. Great, that's settled then. I couldn't help but notice families with children. Their happy faces made me envious. In the parking lot, every car seemed to have a family with kids. Aaron looked awkwardly at me, noticing my side glances. I wondered if we would ever have a happy family. We're almost 40 years old. Even if we had a child now, I'd be in my 60s by the time they were adults. My anxiety grew day by day. Gradually, I lost my mental balance and began to take out my frustration on Aaron. Maybe he's tired of me. He's been acting strangely lately. His job always involved working on weekends, but recently, it's been excessive. At home, he's restless and spends a lot more time on his phone. Could he be having an affair? But without any concrete evidence, I remained clueless. Maybe it's all in my head. One day, Aaron had the day off, and we were supposed to have dinner with my friend Monica. It had been a while since I met anyone, but Aaron had to leave for an errand. Sorry, I have to meet a friend today. It's the only time we both can, he said. Really? Okay, I'll tell Monica. Wasn't your schedule free until yesterday? What happened? I asked, a bit sharply. Just meeting a colleague from work, he said, and left. About an hour later, Monica arrived. Good evening. It's been a while, she greeted. Monica, I said, feeling down. "You look upset. What's wrong?" she asked. I decided to confide in her about my recent troubles with Aaron. Hesitantly, she shared something surprising. "I saw Aaron at a cafe in the next town, talking to a woman. She might be a business associate or a friend, but I don't know who she was. Monica is a trustworthy friend from our student days. She wouldn't lie. Could it be that Aaron was meeting her under the guise of working late or being on business trips? But I couldn't know the truth without confirming it. Confronting him might only lead to lies. Staying together seemed likely to only increase our arguments. I was mentally unstable. I couldn't see a way for us both to be happy, so I brought up divorce. Aaron looked at the divorce papers I presented with a look of despair. "So, it's true. I can't give you a child," he muttered. He stared at the divorce papers in his hand. "I'm sorry. I'm just too tired," I said. Aaron quietly shook his head. "No, you did nothing wrong. It's all on me," he replied. After that, we submitted the divorce papers to the city office. The next day, I packed my belongings and left the house. Then, I threw myself into work to forget about her. I was the first to arrive at the office in the morning and the last to leave at night, working alone. I gave up my days off and spent almost all my time working. But no matter how busy I got, I couldn't stop thinking about my wife's face popping into my head. I would find myself thinking about her before I went to sleep. What is she doing now? Is she doing okay? Then I remembered that thing that had always been bothering me. Was she cheating on me? After all, before our divorce, when I came back from work and opened the door to our room, I often saw her on a call over the internet. The conversation would immediately stop and the computer would close, but the face on the screen was always the same middle-aged man. Even though I was curious, I never asked about it. She might be with that man now. They might have a child and be building a happy family. That night, I woke up to the sound of my own screaming. I don't remember the content, but I do remember it was a terrible nightmare. I felt a chill so intense, it made my whole body tremble. This is bad. Surprised by my abnormal condition, I took the next morning off and went to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed me with extreme fatigue and stress and recommended I take some time off. From that day on, I suddenly felt all the strength leave my body, like an empty shell. I couldn't bring myself to work and decided to resign, citing my poor health. Since then, I've been cooped up at home, thinking I need to live a healthier lifestyle. I was thinking about what to do next. 3 years had passed since I broke up with him. Since then, I had quit my job and moved back to live with my mom. One day, I started feeling unwell in my lower abdomen, often experiencing nausea and dizziness. Considering my age, it wouldn't be surprising if my hormonal balance was off. I decided to visit a gynecologist. The doctor's astonishing revelation caught me off guard. "You're pregnant." What? Unbelievably, I was carrying a child. Of course, it was my ex-husband's. However, I couldn't bring myself to tell him immediately. After the selfish way we parted, I couldn't face him. How could I possibly tell him now? Moreover, he probably had a new family by this time. With these thoughts, I continued my daily life. My daughter began asking, "Why don't we have a dad?" Struggling for an answer, I told her, "Dad is in heaven." I then started working at a factory during the day, leaving my daughter with my mom. The standing work was exhausting at first, and I returned home tired every day. But seeing my daughter's sweet smile was always comforting. One weekend, I received an email from the grocery delivery service I usually use, announcing a special sale at a nearby farmer's market. Can't miss these limited time deals, I thought. So, I took my mom and daughter and drove to the market. "We're here," I announced. "Let's go shopping fast," my daughter urged. Holding her hand, we entered the building and headed towards a small stall with a sign reading, "Organic Home Delivery." Amidst the food vendors, a familiar voice greeted us, To my shock, there stood my ex-husband, Aaron, looking bewildered. He was surprised to see me. "Carrara," he uttered. "Aaron," I replied. We stood in silence for a while until my daughter asked, "Mom, who is this man?" "Oh, he's an old friend of mine," I answered. "It's been a while, Carrara. Can we talk?" Aaron asked. I nodded in agreement. I left my daughter with my mom, and we went to the cafe next door. We sat down and ordered hot coffees. "I can't believe you were the one running that store," I began. He responded with a shy smile. "After falling ill, I quit my job. Remember the health food store I used to visit for my diet? I heard they were starting online deliveries, so I joined them. I was surprised to find out Kara was ordering from my store." "I've always been using that store," I replied, my voice shaking. "You're married now." "She's a lovely kid," he said, looking down sadly. Overwhelmed, I blurted out, "No, it's not like that. She's your daughter." "Really?" he asked, covering his face with his hands and then crying out loud. I told him everything that had happened. He listened, shocked. "I thought you might have remarried, maybe even happy with that woman." "I couldn't contact you, thinking that," I said. Aaron looked surprised. "What affair? What are you talking about?" "About you being close with that woman, Monica told me," I said accusingly. "No, she was an advisor for a group of men struggling with infertility," Aaron clarified. "Really?" I was surprised. "We kept trying, but no child came. So I joined that group to learn how to support a wife if we remain childless. I couldn't tell you while we were so focused on conceiving," he explained. "I understand. I was exhausted back then and couldn't think clearly. I'm really sorry," I said, my voice breaking with tears. Tears also fell from his eyes. "You, on the other hand, I thought you were cheating, always talking to men online. But I had no right to say anything since it was my fault we couldn't have kids. I thought you'd be happier with a new family, so I accepted the divorce," he said. "No, that was a counselor. I was feeling unstable, and it seemed like my frustration over not having children was affecting you. I feared I was cornering you," I explained. "I see." Aaron looked relieved. "After the divorce, I thought a lot. We should have communicated more, respected each other's feelings more, like when we were newlyweds. But I thought it was too late for that, and I couldn't contact you. Yet, I wanted to tell you about our daughter. I was lost," I admitted, feeling pathetic and regretful. "I'm sorry," I said, unable to stop crying. "Don't cry, Carrara," he offered a handkerchief. "Now that the misunderstandings are cleared, would you consider starting over with me?" he asked. I looked up into his eyes. "You forgive me?" "Yes. When you brought up divorce, I thought you did it because I couldn't have children. I accepted it, wishing for your happiness. But I've never forgotten about you, Carrara." "I still love you," he confessed. Hot tears streamed down my cheeks. I wiped them with the handkerchief he lent me and said, "Thank you." Hey, was it tough coming back from heaven to our house, Dad?" Our daughter innocently asked, believing her father was in heaven. "Well, your mom came halfway to get me, so I made it back fine," he answered playfully. My daughter smiled brightly. Aaron and I exchanged smiles too. Despite everything, we managed to have a good conversation. Now, we're living a happy life as a family of 3.